I'm so glad we could make it today. The reason being is there were a few opportunities that we missed each other, and because of time restraints, we couldn't carry this out. But it's finally, we managed to get you here. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Sylvain, would you like to tell us just a little bit about yourself in terms of what your experience is within this role and how did you end up in with Ultimate AI in that sense?
Sure, Amit. Yeah, sure. So I joined Ultimate about like 2 years ago to start our partnerships initiative. Prior to Ultimate, I worked in various positions and more specifically in partnerships for the past 5 years. So joined Ultimate to really like build our partnerships function, which means like working with our tech partners such as like Zendesk, Salesforce and other like large CRMs ecosystems, and also working and developing our channel approach. So for now, like this consists mainly of working with system integrators and BPOs so that they can not only like suggest our technologies to their customers and prospects, but also build a service offering on top.
Okay, excellent. And also, I think in our conversation, you also mentioned that you're from France and now you're living in Germany. Are you bilingual by any chance? Can you speak French and can you speak German?
Auf jeden Fall. Yes, I can speak German. I went through like quite a painful like bachelor thesis writing in German. So like after writing like 70 pages in German, like you remember a few things. So yes, I'm also being bilingual. That's really what I love with like Ultimate being like a global company and also a remote one. Like I have the chance to speak in different languages. I happen to speak Spanish as well, and I've talked to like potential partners in South America, and so like I really like this aspect of being able to like switch quite naturally like from one meeting to another. So yeah, that's a really important aspect of why I like this job actually.
No, perfect. We at LinkPad love multilingual. I mean, we are a multilingual company ourselves as such. So, for us, it always makes sense for me to ask this question. Okay. Now,
Sure.
the main reason, Sylvain, why I've got you here is to kind of discuss the hype around generative AI that we have. There is a lot of discussion, there is a lot of chat, a lot of hashtags around AI that we go and search and we have a look at that. Could you just start us off by telling what it is? Why is it there's so much hype in the first place? What is happening at the moment that everybody's talking about it?
Sure. I mean, like clearly, like what is the hype? Like we all know that like a few months back, like OpenAI, who was initially a foundation, then turned into a company, like released like ChatGPT into the world. Like ChatGPT is really like an application of what we call generative AI technologies, relying on like large language models. With ChatGPT being released to the public, like that released like a huge wave of application, people trying, your family trying ChatGPT, a lot of like news article about it. And so all of this like brought a lot of light on AI in general, and more specifically like chatbots or virtual agents. But we have to remember that this is not new. Actually, like back in 2016, there was already like a first wave of chatbots, as we call them, that hit kind of like all customer support organizations. And then like suddenly every companies wanted to get their own chatbots and had like high hopes and expectations for it. And we were at a point where like technology like kind of failed to meet the expectations of the customer, because at the time, like the language models that were available were not like production ready, were not ready for the public. And so most of the solutions that were around there at the time were more based on keywords. From that, then we saw the emergence in the past few years, which is something that we provide as well, of what we call like natural language processing. And the satisfying technologies around natural language processing started to be ready in 2018. So you see that in 2016, the solutions that were set up like could just simply not do what they were expected to, because the language models only came 2 years later. Now we're like 5 years down the road, like natural language processing is really well functioning and a different approach than generative AI. So the idea is with natural language processing, you feed data to a language model, and then it will like give you like with very much accuracy what this AI model thinks the answer should be to a query that it takes. Mm-hmm. With generative AI, the approach is different in the sense that, you know, like you give a query to the model goes into a huge database and then spits you out an answer. Mm-hmm. So with natural language processing, it goes like it's a step before. Basically, you have more control on what the answer will be, whereas with generative AI, as the name suggests, generative, it generates an answer automatically, and that's the beauty, but also like the risk associated to it. So basically, like in the past years, we saw like the quiet rise of NLP technologies, especially within customer support. And now we have like this new approach of generative AI. And what we believe at Ultimate is that like both will keep on working hand in hand for different use cases.
No, thank you. I mean, this has been one of the most comprehensive descriptions someone's given me about what's happening, and you know, it is so right. I mean, these are some of the things that we consider. Just along those generative AI, the one that you mentioned there, I've got a quick question on that. So you said that these language models are improving, and something that Ultimate AI provides as well. Now, we at LinkPad also have some experience of that, where in some of our translations or in some of our localization requests, customers do request that the localization is slightly in an formal or an informal tone, or they have some specific requests for these localizations depending on the culture of the place. Is that something that generative AI would also consider when it's giving out answers?
Absolutely. So a few things to unpack there. Like, first of all, Ultimate is at its roots like a Finnish company. So we were founded by Finnish founders. And so like, I don't know if you know, but I learned that at Ultimate, that like the Finnish language is one of the most complicated in the world, like from a structure and grammatic point of view, which made that like for us, like it was important from the get-go to have this multilingual aspect. Also, like our stronghold is in we have a lot of like footprint in Europe. So for us, like Europe is a very fragmented market with a lot of different languages. So it was very important that our AI engine is like multilingual, and it was one of the first out there to host like so many languages. So today we're able to understand natively up to 109 languages. Now to your question, like, so on the NLP side of things, right? Like you would build like the dialogues yourselves, in the sense that you would have the control of the tone of voice, how you want to build that. With generative AI, actually, what's also interesting is that you can also decide of the tone of voice. Again, the big difference here is that you would basically have some like predefined tone of voices, depending like how you do that. And that's something that we provide today. But the major difference is, again, like here you wouldn't control exactly, or you wouldn't have like a strong like control on what is being generated. Like basically you could like imagine that you would tell your generative AI bot to talk with like a parrot slang. And then your bot will talk with a parrot slang, but it doesn't mean that you have the control of exactly like what this bot will say at this point in time. Whereas like with NLP, you would build your dialogues yourself and then like also control the tone of voice. So you could very much imagine a world where you have like one generative AI bot that speaks with a very specific tone of voice, and one NLP-based bot that speaks with the same tone of voice, but they would speak to different use cases. The idea is that for generative AI, you would look at like kind of having a bot that can answer to like 80% of your questions, basically like all the questions that you can't think of, like the odd ones, like the ones that like all the questions that you would have in your help center, for instance. And NLP-based chatbot will still remain like super useful when it comes to like your more like complex queries, like queries where like a customer is asking for an order number and you have to retrieve the order number from Shopify or whatever platform they're using, give an answer, then route the query to the right team in your organization. So for all those more like, I would say, complex use cases, NLP will still become super important. especially if you think about like more sensitive queries. So queries around like billing and those things where you need to be sure that the AI has understood well what the intent was. And so for these ones, you're still going to rely a lot on NLP, and for the rest, using generative AI that will be plugged into your help center.
Okay. Now, with all of this to consider, right? My question, or some of the questions that our listeners will have as well, would be, when is the right time, or what is the right time to introduce a technology like that? Because this is where most of our customers have queries around. What is the sweet spot, you would say, that now this company or this organization or the process is ready to adapt to this technology?
That's actually a great question, because I do like, companies are always asking themselves, like, is it the right time for me to start going into AI? The answer, I mean, maybe I'm a bit biased, but the answer is always yes. What changes is actually, what do I want to set up?
Okay.
Right? Like, so let's say like a company that has already like started with like chat and omni-channel, of course, like then they probably already have started with automation. But you have still a lot of companies out there that deal like still overwhelmingly with emails, for instance. And so if they only deal with email, like starting with like a generative AI chatbot that overtakes their entire like channel of communication is maybe a bit hasty. So in that sense, basically, then we would recommend to just start automating your emails. And automating your emails using, I mean, we provide solutions and products at every step of the way. So we have a product that just automates the emails. And if that's what you feel confident with, then the impact will be like more limited, because first you have a more granular control of like when the AI will be answering to your emails and how, and you can see all the backlog. So, I've like in those 2 years that I've been at Ultimate, I was actually very surprised to see the amount of like prospects that are still very resistant to the idea of AI, which surprised me. I just went with the assumption that everyone would be like, wow, cool AI, let's do it. You still have like a lot of prospects out there that I was like, wow, I don't trust AI. I don't like chatbots, which is fair, right? Like when you encounter like a chatbot out there, sadly, often you have like a poor experience, but that's not because of the chatbot. That's because the investment in the chatbot hasn't been good enough, because the technology is there, but the solution is as good as like how much efforts you put into it.
Sylvain, I have to really appreciate you being honest there, and also, being so upfront on certain things, because one of the biggest fears, which you just mentioned there, was companies or customers think that when AI is introduced, it's going to take over and there's going to be no human input or no control or no quality control from that sense. Now, we at LinkPad, when we introduced our LinkPad AI for similar things, we have got a sort of the right control whereby there is human intervention to make sure that AI does not take over completely, that is. So we introduce those efficiencies in the process. Challenging question, again, from a customer's point of view, is how much of human intervention, how much of AI, or is that completely customizable to whatever your business needs are?
So I think in the sense of the solutions that we implement, that is entirely customizable, and it's entirely up to the customer to tell us like how much bandwidth he wants to allocate to the virtual agent versus how much bandwidth like the human agents wants to have. Thanks to the seamless integrations that we have with the large CRMs out there, we're able to actually feed back like a lot of information back to the agent. So we're actually in a way like empowering the agent quite a lot.
Okay.
Your question was also like open, like also a door for me, in the sense that, I think, as a whole, of course, if you look like overall numbers, like AI will have an impact on the workforce, like that's undeniable. However, it also opens like doors for new carriers, and that's something that is not to be neglected. Like today, like in customer support organization, there is a risk, it's not a risk, like it's happening. Like you have a lot of challenges to retain talents and retain people in customer support organizations. So actually, like platforms like Ultimate offers to company like new career possibilities, because to maintain and build those virtual agents, you need new skills. And this is creating like actually new positions. We see now here and there new positions being created with various titles. So you see like titles such as like automation manager, conversation designer, conversation analyst, you know, like all those new names. And it's actually quite funny because you see there's no standard that is being created yet. So you see that it's very much like a bubbling space.
Yeah.
However, what we see in our client base is that we see that people who typically are becoming like super users of our platform, and we have, again, like people, some of our clients like use our platform like and maintain their bot investing like 3 hours or 5 hours per week. And some others, like we have clients that have developed like full teams of more than five people that are working like strictly with Ultimate.
Yeah.
And so we see that there is this development and shift, and we often see as well that people that are involved with these new technologies are being fast-tracked to promotions. So it's a very like positive and kind of like bubbling space. That's something that's also close to my heart, because like you obviously don't want to work for a technology that's just like killing job, like, you know, like this kind of like Skynet Terminator approach of things. But also to see that there is like also like potential for new jobs to be created out there. And I think like this is, to me, like probably the thing that excites me the most about this space, is to see like all the new careers and perspectives that are being created. And our specificity at Ultimate is that we're also creating a platform that's super easy to use. Like our target are business users. Like we aim to empower business users. We also aim to empower our partner to use our platform, and they don't need to have like crazy technical machine learning engineer degrees to be able to operate that.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. And when you mentioned Terminator, that's exactly what I was thinking about as well,
Yeah.
because a lot of people who think of AI associate it with what Terminator was, basically AI taking over and turning out to be not so good. But then you quite mentioned it properly. And again, I think we can think about it from a very different point as well. 50 years down the line, you had loads of people using typewriters,
Yeah.
We don't have the typewriters, but we still have a laptop with the same keys on it. So in fact, everybody has become a typist. You would typically have very specific typists who would just type there. But now everybody has got, because we've adapted with technology, but for the positive. So, that makes sense. Next question around that is, so, we've answered about, when is the right time to introduce. The next question would be, when a company decides to implement generative AI or any part of AI in a customer service or a customer experience environment, what are the risks that they should be concerned about, or what is the risk that they should pre-plan before stepping into this? Now, this question is mainly for a lot of young CX managers who are joining the industry. So for them who don't have as much experience, but they still want to go ahead and implement a technology, what should they be thinking about before they do it?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So I think it ties back to one of the questions you asked earlier. Like, I think my main answer would be to like not jump into these topics like with both your feet. You can like it. You can always like dabble into AI. Like plugging some AI capabilities here and there to help you with your, like, let's say, usual business as usual like work. Today we see that like a lot of companies like Zendesk is improving. They're improving their own like processes and services in order to bring like some AI to empower the agent. So they're already doing that in a quite like standardized manner. That's also like brings a lower level of risks involved when you plug that in, whilst also like letting you like use your methods of work as you've used them. And then once you start building this confidence, and once you start having also like the volumes to justify AI, that's an important aspect when you start to like fully automate your like your conversations, not in the sense that the engine or like the chatbot will answer to everything, but in the sense that the chatbot will pre-qualify everything and then transfer to an agent, right? Like, so when you start going in those into this direction, then it's important to also have the volumes to justify it. Like, for instance, we provide like custom AI models per customer, which is great because then like after we have like a bit of history and after we have some volumes working on it, then the customers get like an intent recognition, like get like an AI engine that is super catered to their use cases and makes barely any mistakes. But that requires like some maintenance, and that requires the fact that you need to have the volumes to justify the training.
Okay. No, fair enough. Thank you. Again, simple advice. Just regarding what you just said, you can dabble with AI. Does Ultimate AI provide any sort of trial period? So if somebody wants to dabble with it, can they try it out for a while? Do you have any such things that we can recommend?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, we've like the entire theme of the conversation is around generative AI, and we recently released like our product, Ultimate GPT, which is based on generative AI. And so if you go on our website, like we're currently promoting like a 2 weeks trial where you can actually just try it out. It's very simple. We basically like plug into your help center of choice. So for instance, like if you're running Zendesk today, we would just like plug into your Zendesk help center and provide you like with a conversational chatbot that speaks in a very conversational manner. So like ChatGPT, but only within the frame of your help center. So if you've spent time, like a lot of CS organization, they've spent time like carefully crafting like a really well-built and well-documented help center. Now you can make use of all this work by just plugging into Ultimate GPT, which will then, like, whenever you ask a questions about one of your products, it will go and fish into your help center, summarize the answer, and answer in a conversational manner.
Fantastic. Now, I don't know whether this is the time to introduce trials, because our finance team and our management also sat down and introduced a trial around the same time as well. So I think this is the time where a lot of customers, a lot of companies would be out there searching for technology. So I think we've also got a 2 week period. I'm sure it's just coincidence, and we were not looking at each other, but that's how it's about. Okay, the next question I have is, if somebody was to go ahead and start using AI, let's talk about Ultimate AI, because you're representing them. Where can they see immediate changes? Where can they see those little wins, when they implement a technology? So my question is, how can they see this improvement, and how can they measure this improvement as well? Because at the end of the day, they want to check whether the technology is working. So what are the measurement statistics or KPIs, etc., that you would recommend that a company would see once they start using your technology?
That's an important aspect, and we care deeply about our analytics, and we invest a lot into our analytics. Like, we have an entire like very elaborate dashboards where you can like kind of like do Tableau like and drill down into specific numbers. First of all, in terms of like metrics of success, we tend to build that with the customer prior to the sale. So prior to the sale, we would approach it. We have tools such as like an automation tool where we're able to like build like a data-driven roadmap of what to automate first. So we would connect to your retrieve the history of your conversation, and then evaluate how much potential you can automate there. Also, like after a few conversations, we also estimate like what are the costs involved for each of your conversation, and we try to evaluate what's the return of investment that you're going to hit, and we have automated tools to do that. So I think that's a very important step. And then after like the clients have like started implementing and rolling out our solutions, then basically like we're able we're able to provide like analytics, like typical KPI measurements were in the past like more like we were talking a lot about like deflection rates and like first response time. Obviously, if you implement like a chatbot, like first response time will always be 0. But like what's interesting is that before we used to talk about deflection rates, so just like pushing the query away, whereas now we're like trying to calculate the resolution time, like has the customer actually received like a positive outcome and is happy with the answer that they got. So that's really the level of detail we're trying to get. And obviously like CSAT is king, right? Like whenever we implement like a chat solution, we measure the CSAT before, after, and we have numerous case studies where we show that actually the CSAT was not impacted by the implementation and stayed very high despite the implementation of a chatbot.
Okay, excellent. So this is all pre-thought about. This is not an afterthought. You plan all of this before you go in and implement the technology with the customer.
Absolutely. We understand that, you know, it's a kind of like especially for companies that like a lot of the companies that purchase our technology are first-time buyers. So we understand that this is quite the leap of faith to start working with such a technology, which is why we're trying to build confidence into the process and bring like all the elements and all the measurable elements that will basically make our customers feel safe going into this strategy. And we obviously have like numerous like success stories that also show that in different industries, different size of companies, we're able to provide like successful solutions. But I think it's important to have this data-driven approach and provide all the materials to make, you know, like the customer feel good about like stepping into automation.
Perfect. So just for our listeners, there's a 2-week trial that you get with Ultimate, the GPT, the chat providing the generative AI side of things. And they've also forethought about how you're going to measure your success with it. So, hey, no harm in giving that a try there. Okay. Events. Are there any events that you guys plan, or is there where we can find Ultimate AI, you know, being a host or being there? Just inquiring that, because a lot of customers do want to attend those events. They want more information. I know this is too short a podcast to cover everything, but if you want to do that, then is there something that they can do?
Absolutely. So we quite often host like our own webinars where we talk about like the state of, you know, AI, like the different trends going on. So obviously we did like a lot of webinars on, you know, generative AI, OpenAI, ChatGPT. We also host like more and more in-person events. So if you're located like in London or Berlin, where we have like our biggest hubs in Europe, like we often tend to organize breakfast, 6 breakfasts, or like other happenings in these cities. So just stay tuned on we have an events calendar available on our website where we promote our different events, being either like online or in person. So we're trying to do a lot. I also like the fact that now like we can do more in person. So we definitely tend and try to do more and more of those.
Yeah, perfect. One last question before we go to the trivia I have is, who do you follow? Or is there any person, could be an expert, could be a book that you read, could be a website, for trends in customer service and AI? Is there any specific person or anything that you would advise someone who's starting this journey for them to get more knowledge that they can kind of go ahead and read or view, anything along those lines?
I don't have anyone's name specifically in mind, but let me fish. I actually follow like a newsletter, which I think can be quite technical, but I'm also not a technical person, and I quite like it. Which I think is super powerful. So generally speaking, like all the large ecosystems, such as like we provide actually, I should probably say this. Okay. We actually each year release like a trends report. So I would say like that's the best place to start when like starting to peek into AI. But for people that are looking for like more let's say like advanced like super specific points. I'm actually going through my emails right now.
Sure. Take your time.
You know what? I don't find it. I'll share it with you after, and we can put the link below. So I'll share the newsletter I have in mind. But yeah, the straightforward answer is like, check out our trends report. It has everything that there is to know on AI.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sylvain. It was lovely speaking with you, but I'm not going to let you go straight away. As promised, there's 5 trivia questions that you want to add that I'd like you to answer. So would you rather, are you ready for the first one?
Shoot.
Okay, so would you rather get a postcard every day from a stranger in a different country, or would you rather a 10-minute call with anyone in the world you choose once a year? What would you like?
How long is the postcard?
It's just a postcard. It's just that size. That's it. The postcard.
Do you get to enter? Do you get to start a correspondence?
No, you just receive one. That's it. You don't have to reply back. So it's basically to see whether you just like to listen from people or you also want to have a chat with them for 10 minutes as well.
I think, like, okay, that's difficult to answer because I think like if you receive a postcard every day, then you get a bit better picture of the world. I would rather have the 10-minute conversation, but I think I would be too frustrated for not being able to follow up after a few weeks. If you start piling up of like 10 minutes conversation, then I think it doesn't bring enough. So in this context, because you're not able to like follow up on your conversations, I would go with the postcards.
Oh, wow, I love it. I like the way you're thinking. I can see your brain moving there. Okay, another one. Would you rather live 10 miles away from where you were born, or never be able to settle down in one place for more than 1 year?
I mean, I've lived my life as a latter, so I can't really answer anything else. I moved a lot already, and I don't live 10 miles from where I was born, so I will just say the latter.
Latter, okay. Next one is about drink. Okay, so would you rather never be able to drink water again, or only be able to drink water for the rest of your life?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure you can survive without water, so probably water.
Well, but if you didn't drink water, you could have other drinks that contain water, but not water.
Yeah, I like my water.
Yeah, what? Okay.
And also, like, alcohol is overrated.
I completely get you now. And the other one is, would you rather be a successful artist or a successful business owner?
I think it would be cool not to distinguish the two. I think like there's a lot of creativity that can be brought into business. I have like creative passions that I lead on the side. So I think, I don't think like you can, that you shouldn't like make such a strong divide there. Mm-hmm. That being said, like I don't have the ambition of like becoming a business owner myself. So I would say the artist.
The artist, okay. But I think you raise a very fair point, which is creativity is also a part of business as well. You have to be creative to come up with ideas, and some of the ideas that we're coming up with AI in, there is a lot of creativity involved in there. I'll bet it's in another way. Okay, last question, and I we can leave you alone for after that one. Is regarding a mode of transportation. Okay, so would you rather your only mode of transportation be a donkey or a giraffe?
I was expecting like an easier one, like train or plane, and then my answer would have been easier. All right, donkey or giraffe? Well, I think like definitely a giraffe. Like it's more exotic. I'm sure I know people who've traveled with donkeys before, but like I don't know of like any adventurer who traveled on a giraffe.
So okay, so you go for the more adventurous option for this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Sylvain, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for your time. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you once again then.
Thanks for the invitation, Amit. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this video in our podcast series. Please do let us know in the comments whether you like the video or if you have any suggestions. We have an amazing list of guests lined up for you in the coming few weeks. Please do like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye.